Hi, it's Luca and welcome to today's video about more deep trans questions. So last week I already made a video answering some of your questions that you have asked me on Instagram. Just like deep questions about me being trans and my experience with it. And there were so many questions that I picked out, but I didn't answer them yet because I didn't have time in the last video. So I decided I'm gonna answer some more questions now, and yeah, I hope you enjoy. The first question is weird, random, unusual things that give you euphoria or dysphoria. It's probably not unusual, but I get most of my dysphoria from my hips these days. It's really frustrating because I mean it's something that's not actually in my control, but yeah, that's just something that bothers me and probably always will bother me in some sort of way. So for example, when I try on new pants and they really emphasize my hips, like that makes me feel so dysphoric. Or just pants I haven't worn in a long time and I try them on again and I realize like, oh my god, how did I used to wear them? But then on the other hand, when I try on new pants and they kind of like hide my hips, that really gives me gender euphoria, and then I continue wearing the same pants for weeks on end. But I mean, as a trans guy, it's always very difficult to find the perfect pants that fit you. So when you do find some, you cling on to them with everything you got. Oh, and I just remembered another, that's maybe that's a more unusual thing that gives me dysphoria, is like the size of my feet. Whenever I wear shoes that make my feet look small, like that, For example, old school Vans, they make my feet look tiny, but they're also my favorite shoes because they're so comfortable and they look good, and that is really stressing me out sometimes, especially if I haven't worn them in a while and then I put them on again and I realize how tiny they are. And you know when you sometimes wear shoes where the sole is very thick and then they make you kind of like a little bit taller? That's really nice, isn't it? Even if it's just a centimeter, but then you wear the Vans again and they make you so short. Anyways, let's continue with the next question, because there are so many questions that we have to get through. How do I make myself more masculine? Well, okay, let's get into this. Obviously there are the standard things you can do. You can get your hair cut short. You can go shopping in the men's section and buy the most basic clothes there are. Don't make yourself small like that, but like stand up and be present. Also baseball hats, like I'm so much more manly now. I'm sure there are lots of other YouTube videos that cover this topic and I've watched all of them pre-transition, and you probably know that already, but just because there are lots of tips on how to present more masculine doesn't mean you should follow all of them, because I think it's most important that you feel comfortable with yourself and that you're not trying to be someone you're not. But I totally get it when you're just coming out and you just want to be seen by everyone as a guy and you don't want to get misgendered. But I also think that people who want to misgender you will misgender you no matter what. Like, you can try as hard as you want, they will still be idiots about it. Okay, maybe you can pass better when you're interacting with strangers if you dress a little bit more masculine, but I would say just try and be as comfortable as you can. And if you're comfortable with yourself, you also slowly become more confident in your identity as a guy. And if you radiate that confidence, people will notice and they are more likely to recognize you as a guy. I can't stress that enough. Confidence is like super important. Okie dokie. I was super close to having sex with someone trans and I didn't know what to touch. Is it okay to ask? Yeah, of course. You should definitely ask. It's super important to communicate what you like, what you don't like, what your boundaries are. And that's not even only regarding trans people, that's about everyone you're having sex with. Communication is very important. Just take it slowly, and when you like do something new, you just ask like, is that okay? And usually even if they don't say anything directly, you can tell by their facial expressions or by their body language if they're enjoying something or not. So pay close attention to that, and if you're not sure, definitely ask. I think I find that really sweet when I'm, for example, making out with someone and they're like tucking at my shirt and then they ask if it's okay to take it off. I don't know, I think that's just very attractive when people ask for consent. It's good. When did you realize that you were trans and how? Well, I could probably make a whole 2-hour video about this, but long story short, I think I started seriously considering I could be trans when I was like 19 or 20, but I was super scared and I was like, no, I don't have the capacity to deal with it right now. So I pushed it away and then I came back to it and I pushed it away again, and that went on for like 3 years. Also for the longest time I wasn't sure if I was a trans guy or maybe just non-binary, and I think I was around 23 when I was like definitely sure, and then I started telling people. And how I realized was basically just watching a lot of trans people on YouTube, and I finally saw myself represented, and that made me feel really valid, because all my life I felt different. That sounds like the beginning of a coming of age movie, but anyways, I felt like I didn't belong. I felt very uncomfortable about my gender, but I didn't really know what being trans meant. When I was younger, I didn't know that being trans was an option, so I never really considered it. But then I saw these trans people on YouTube who were actually actually transitioning and actually being happy, and that made me realize that it's actually a possibility and that I could do that as well. Okay, how did you cope with fear of rejection when planning your coming out to your family? Yeah, I think that was definitely the hardest part. Like, coming out to friends wasn't as, I mean, it was scary, but not as scary, because when you come out to your friends and they react badly, you could just stop being friends. Like, it's not so dramatic, right? But you can't really escape your family, so that was very scary. But I think by the time I finally came out to my family, I was already feeling very confident in my identity as a guy. I was out to all my friends already, everyone was calling me Luca, and I was feeling pretty good about that. So I had a lot of support from my friends, and that kind of made me feel safe. And obviously part of myself was scared that my family was gonna reject me or not believe me or think I'm crazy. I mean, they couldn't kick me out because I was 24 and living on my own. But yeah, I was definitely scared they weren't gonna take it well. But then I also knew that my family loved me and supported me, and they would probably be okay with it. And coming out to my family was pretty much exactly how I thought it would be. I mean, they were fine with it, and they were like, yeah, we love you and we support you. But they were also very confused and very much like, are you sure? Maybe it's just a phase. So it wasn't ideal, and I didn't get all the support that I wanted. But like, I mean, it could have been worse. Yeah, I think coming out to my family was just something I knew I had to do if I wanted to be me, and if I wanted to live as a guy and do all of the things that I wanted to do. Yeah, it was kind of the only thing that was holding me back from being Luca all of the time, so I just had to do it. Was kind of also contemplating just changing my identity and moving to a different country. But yeah, I didn't do that. Do you want to become a parent someday? And if yes, can you imagine to have a biological child? If by having a biological child you mean birthing it out of my self, then no, I cannot imagine that for the life of me, ever doing that. No way. But I could imagine taking out my eggs or something and then someone else carrying out that child. But I don't know if that's actually still possible, because I've been on testosterone for a while, and but like, being a parent and having a family, I'm very much open to that. I mean, it's weird to imagine it right now because I still feel like a child, so definitely not in the near future. But in like 10 years, who knows? Maybe yes, maybe no. Did you ever accidentally misgender yourself, especially in the beginning? That's a fun question. I don't think so. I don't remember any instances, but I definitely do remember that I was scared that would happen. Me accidentally dead naming myself, especially because I was out as Luca with some people, but then other people I wasn't out with and they were still using my dead name, so my brain had to switch like back and forth, and it was a bit stressful, but I don't think it ever happened. No, it's pretty cool. Did you ever feel like transitioning took so much time that you should have stayed as you were? I don't think so, no, definitely not during my transition, because I was so wrapped up in all of it. I was constantly thinking about what's next, what do I have to do, where do I have to call. But I think before coming out and before starting my transition, I was always like, oh my god, where do I even start? This is gonna take so long. So I think especially in the beginning, it can feel like it's impossible and you're never gonna achieve all of your dreams of transitioning, because there are so many things you have to do, you don't even know where to start. But that's the key, you just have to start somewhere, and once you've started, it becomes easier and easier. I wouldn't say like it's easy, but like it becomes a little bit easier every time. Has hearing negative comments ever made you think you weren't actually trans? When I was still contemplating and like figuring myself out, I would constantly question myself and doubt myself, and yeah, I was feeling very insecure, and that was a tough time. And you're already feeling so confused, and then you hear something really negative about trans people and you're just like, oh my god, why am I putting myself through this? So yeah, fun times. So I think it's super annoying when people give trans people shit for being trans, because it's already hard enough. Like, figuring out you're trans and coming out is already hard enough. Stop making it even harder. Did you have imposter syndrome? Yes, I think I did. I think when I was pre-testosterone and someone would gender me correctly, and first I was so happy, but then I was also low-key scared that I would make a mistake and they would realize I wasn't actually a guy. That was a little bit terrifying, but usually it didn't happen. Are you considering doing bottom surgery? No, I'm not considering bottom surgery at the moment for various reasons, but the short explanation is just that the benefits don't outweigh the risks that come with it. I just really don't want to put myself through a lot of surgeries right now, and yeah, that's pretty much it. But that's just me and my personal opinion. If you want to have bottom surgery and you think it would make you really happy, then go for it, do it. What I don't like is when people just assume that because you're trans, you're definitely gonna have bottom surgery. Kind of like, oh, you're not trans enough if you don't want to have bottom surgery. No, you don't have to do anything to prove to anyone else that you're trans. No. For example, when I was in the hospital and I was getting top surgery, I was just really happy to be having top surgery. I was really excited. That was something I had been dreaming of, to have a flat chest. But so many of the other trans guys there were already talking about bottom surgery and asking me, yeah, Luca, when are you having bottom surgery? Kind of like assuming that I'm definitely getting it, and that really pissed me off. It's your life, your transition, you do whatever you want. What do you do if you don't feel a lot of dysphoria but still know you're not cis? Well, again, I would say just do whatever you want. Maybe this is about finding a label that fits you, but I would say just try out everything you can. Kind of like find out the way you want to express your gender first and become more comfortable with how you want to express your gender, and then I think the label that fits you most will just come to you. Maybe this is still controversial, but you don't have to have like super crippling dysphoria in order to be trans. I think dysphoria is such an individual thing and everyone experiences it differently. And I mean, you also don't have to decide if you identify as a woman or a man. There are so many other options on the gender spectrum. So yeah, have fun experimenting with your gender, and good luck. How do you deconstruct gender to be able to feel confident with the fact that you're not cis? Wow, that's a good question. Gender is a social construct in our society, and like you as an individual person can't really change that. But what you can do is surround yourself with people who don't really believe in these constructs and who support you no matter what. And I think if you're in that kind of environment where it doesn't really matter if you're trans or if you're cis, you will automatically feel more comfortable with not being cis because it's just not such a big deal. Obviously, if you're in a super heteronormative environment, then you will feel like the odd one out because you don't fit in. That's also not a bad thing, by the way. Fitting in is definitely overrated. But yeah, your environment and the people you surround yourself with, that's so crucial to you being comfortable or not. And the last question, do you feel a sense of belonging or acceptance in a group of cis men, or are you like the odd one out? I think it totally depends on the group of cis men present. I have definitely felt like the odd one out before, especially if it's like a very like hetero group of cis men where they talk about football and cars and like, I don't know, women, and I'm just there like, I don't like this. But I've also felt really comfortable in groups of cis men before if it was like good friends of mine and I knew they kind of like supported me. So it totally depends. Okay, yeah, that was very fun. I hope you had fun as well, and let me know what kind of like other things I should make videos about. Have a great day and I'll see you next week. Bye!